Hey, greetings, everyone, and good evening. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to spend about 30 minutes with us here on this Facebook Live. It's been a while since I've done a Facebook Live. I want to share some thoughts, perspectives, and insights with you, and also let you know about the decision to officially announce our campaign to be the next state chairman for the Republican Party of Texas. But there's something else that's very special about this time of the year. And there was something that happened 79 years ago tomorrow on August the 16th. Because on August the 16th of 1940, the first airborne test platoon of the United States of America made its initial jump, August the 16th of 1940. And here we are today, all these many years later, still producing men and women now who are those sky paratroopers, jumping in behind enemy lines, taking the fight for liberty, freedom, and democracy against the tyranny that we face. I want to take the time to share with you a quote from General Sir Bernard Montgomery about airborne paratroopers. And General Bernard Montgomery says, "What manner of men are these that wear the maroon beret? They are firstly all volunteers and are toughened by physical training. As a result, they have infectious optimism and that offensive eagerness which comes from well-being. They have jumped from the air, and by doing so have conquered fear. Their duty lies in the van of the battle. They are proud of this honor. They have the highest standards in all things, whether it be the skill in battle or the smartness in the execution of all peacetime duties. They are, in fact, men apart, every man an emperor. Of all the factors which makes for success in battle, the spirit of the warrior is the most decisive. That spirit will be found in full measure in the men who wear the maroon beret." In my 22 years of service in the United States Army, I was honored to wear that maroon beret in several duty assignments. And that is why I'm proud to wear my Army Master Parachutist badge, my Air Assault badge, which is very significant, of the glider paratroopers, and then also the Navy Marine Corps parachutist insignia that I earned while the 3-year station on a joint assignment with the Marines. But then also I had the opportunity to even earn the Italian Airborne Wings. So I know about that infectious optimism and that offensive eagerness. And that is why some of you may recognize this. Those of you that have ever served in the United States Airborne know that this is a static line snap hook. This is a rendition of a static line. And this is an award that was given to me. Because when you stand up and then you hook up to that anchor line cable and you put your safety wire in to make sure that this static line stays secure, then you're ready to jump out into harm's way, to defend those things that you love, those things that you hold precious. That's what the men of the 82nd, the 101st Rangers, Special Forces, all of our special operators, all of those men and women that wear that special beret of a paratrooper do. And so I am letting you know that I am hooking up and I'm prepared to jump into this fray, into this battle, to make sure that the great state of Texas stays a strong constitutional conservative state. And as a jump master, we're always the first ones out of the door. And the jump master always looked back and he says 2 simple words: follow me. And why I want you to follow me into this, because I've been committed to these principles and freedoms. I've been committed to our Constitution. And here in Texas, I'm going to be committed to your equality of opportunity and not the progressive socialism collective subjugation. Some of the things that I think that's so important that we press forward here in Texas to make sure of is to strengthen our families. When I look at the inner cities all across the United States of America, and even in the urban centers here in Texas, we see a decimation of the family. So goes the family, so go our communities, and so go our cities, and so goes our state. And that is true about Texas. And when you look at our inner cities, you see the destruction of many of the traditional nuclear families. See, the strength of the family is not about sitting around and being on welfare, not about sitting around and waiting for food stamps or electronic benefit transfer card benefits. It's about being able to go out and have the growth, the opportunity, and the prosperity having those policies that enable you to go out and do for yourself and fend for yourself. And that's what we want to have here in Texas. We want to continue to have those policies of growth. We're the 10th or the 11th largest economy in the world, and we want to stay that way. We don't want people coming into Texas telling us that in 12 years the world is going to be over, and in 10 years we've got to destroy the oil and gas industry and all the other great things. We have 50 of the top Fortune 500 companies that are located right here in Texas, and they're located here because, well, we do things right in Texas, and that is how you build strong families. And we got to make sure that government respects the rights of families as well. And that comes into being able to choose for yourselves the best education opportunity for your child. Just the same as my parents chose Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School for me and not the two public schools in the old Fourth Ward neighborhood, because they understood that an education, a good quality education, is the key to all of the successes and all of the greatness and that thing called the American dream. Strong families, good quality education. We also need to make sure that one day Texans and the families of Texas can truly own their home. I think it's a shame that even if you are able to pay off your home, even if you have served in the military, you still have to worry about, well, if I don't pay these property taxes, it may be lost. We got to think about better solutions that enable people here in the great state of Texas to truly say, this is my domicile. This is the place that I built, and this is the place that I will call home and pass on to subsequent generations. We got to stand up for life, and that's all life. Our first inalienable right is life. And folks, I got to tell you, whenever I drive down I-45 and I go through Houston and I get on the south side of Houston, I see that big glass office building, and at the top it says Planned Parenthood. I get angry. When you hear the progressive socialists talk about people being racist and white supremacists and white nationalists, Planned Parenthood was founded by a white supremacist, a racist, a woman that spoke at Klan rallies, a woman that looked at people that looked like me and, well, she called us undesirables and weeds. And I think it's very odd that we have that incredible glass enclosed building in Houston, where the Republican Party of Texas was found in that vicinity on July the 4th of 1867 by 150 blacks. I don't want to see that building representing the tyranny of Margaret Sanger. We're up to almost 20 million black babies that have been murdered in the womb. But yet some people are talking about reparations for slavery. That's a genocide. And we've got to end that. And I say we end it right here in Texas. You know, it wasn't too long ago that I stood before the Dallas City Council when they were talking about ripping down the statue of Robert E. Lee. I grew up down south in Georgia. I know everything about the Civil War. Robert E. Lee did nothing to hurt or harm me. But yet this revisionist history of the progressive socialist left, and I really think that the Democrat Party does not want us to know their history, which is why they're trying to tear down all of these monuments. I say that must end. History is not there for us to like or dislike. It's there for us to learn from. As a matter of fact, the quote attributed to George Santayana said that those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And maybe that's why we have the second domestic terrorist group, Antifa, running around. After all, the Democrat Party did establish the first domestic terrorist group, the Ku Klux Klan. I don't want to see any more of these monuments being torn down. Let's learn from those monuments. Let's learn our history. And when you go back to education, let's start going back to teaching civics. And I think, as a chairman, one of the most important elected positions we have in the state of Texas or anywhere in the United States of America, the school board, and also at the city council. And so I want to make sure that we're building a farm team. I want to make sure that we're winning elections at that local level, so that when we have congressmen that are retiring, like the four that have said they're retiring here in the state of Texas, we don't panic. We don't worry. We just reach down from one of those other levels, like in baseball, the single A, double A, or triple A level, and we pull somebody up to be in the major leagues. I want to develop and grow talent. I want to recruit the best constitutional conservatives out there so that we can sustain the future of this Lone Star state. We got to secure our border. To me, it's unconscionable to have people running to be president of the United States of America and they support open borders. What are they running to be president of? There are many different threats that come from having an unsecure border. First, you have criminal illegal immigration, but then also you have a scourge that we know very well here in Texas, such as in Houston and also in Dallas, and that's sex and human trafficking. That has to end. But as long as we have open borders, as long as we're letting these coyotes do this without enforcing our rule of law, then it's going to continue to perpetuate itself. We got to make sure that the drug cartels are not able to openly set up shop on this side of the border and terrorize the citizens all along the Rio Grande Valley. I know, I've been down there. I've seen that in McAllen and several other places. And I've been to the facilities of the Border Patrol down in McAllen. Our Border Patrol and our ICE agents are doing heroic work. Shame on anyone that would attack and assault and assail them for doing what they're called to do, to uphold our laws. We have to stand with our Border Patrol and our ICE agents. We must make sure that it's, first of all, a state responsibility to protect that border, because sometimes the federal government, as it seems right now, does not have the courage, the competence, and the commitment and the character to do what is right by our Constitution. And lastly, we still have to worry about the infiltration of Islamic jihadism coming across our open and porous border. We know that Hezbollah, Iran, the #1 state sponsor of Islamic terrorism in the world, and others will work with these drug cartels to infiltrate across our border. All you have to do is read the Border Patrol reports, the OTMs, the Other Than Mexicans, and see that we have an influx of people coming from countries that are on the terrorist watch list. We got to stand with our Texas state legislature, a Texas state legislature that in the state house is very close to being flipped. That's not going to happen on my watch. I guarantee and I promise you that. And the last thing that is so important, it was tragic what we saw that happened out at El Paso, but that should not mean that we will allow anyone to undermine the Second Amendment rights that we have, that are part of our Bill of Rights. I will tell you right now, I am a member of the National Rifle Association and a board member. I am a member of the Texas State Rifle Association, a benefactor and endowment member. And I do not and will not ever support red flag laws or anything that undermines an individual's right to keep and bear arms, which, as the Constitution says, shall not be infringed. But yet we see that being infringed. Go back and read the story about Gary Willis, November of 2018, who had a red flag protection order served against him by the police at 5:17 in the morning in his home at Ferndale, Maryland. Gary Willis is dead now. We don't know who the police officers were that shot him. We don't know why there was a red flag protection order. We don't even know, no one has ever seen the red flag protection order. That's not what we want in these great United States of America. That's not what we want in the Lone Star State of Texas. I'm running to be the chairman of this great state because if we lose Texas, we don't have a United States of America. We don't have a constitutional republic. We must hold Texas to hold this nation. And that is my wholehearted belief. And that is why I have taken my static line snap hook. I've hooked up to the anchor line cable, and I'm jumping back into this fray because we need to have strong principled voices, constitutional conservatives. And let me explain one last thing. My focus is on defeating progressive socialism in the Lone Star State. I have little time for any internal dissension or strife, and I will go anywhere into any of the 254 counties in the state of Texas to talk to Republicans, to talk to constitutional conservatives, to rally them to our cause, to rally them to hold Texas and hold this great nation. Let us remember the spirit of those men who stood in defiance in October of 1835 at a place called Gonzales. When they were told to stand down, they said, "Come and take it." That's what I am saying to the progressive socialist left in the state of Texas. And that's why I'm asking you to follow this old jump master in the battle. You can go to west4, the number 4, texas.com, west, the number 4, texas.com, and join us. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you sharing the message. I'll be out in San Antonio at Blanco Barbecue this Saturday for a town hall meeting. Hopefully you can come out, have some good barbecue, and have some good conversation. Leadership and being a paratrooper is exactly what General Sir Bernard Montgomery talked about. That infectious attitude, that offensive spirit, that warrior ethos. We don't jump in front of the enemy. We jump in behind the enemy. And that's why I think the success of the Republican Party of Texas must be to take these strong constitutional conservative principles into these cities such as Dallas, such as Austin, such as San Antonio, such as Houston, such as El Paso, Corpus Christi, anywhere that the left believes that they are strong, we're going to find those gaps and we're going to show that they're weak. Join us in this fight at westfortexas.com. And for those of you that don't know exactly how this whole process works, if you go to our website, westfortexas.com, the number 4, you will find the road to convention, how you get to become a delegate. It's a little bit different. First of all, it's very important that you vote in the March primary next year on Super Tuesday, and then you participate in your precinct convention. So it's very important that you contact your precinct chairman, I say as soon as possible. And then after that, you want to attend your state Senate district convention. And you want to find out who your state Senate district Republican Executive Committee representatives are so that you can attend that convention as well. And then all goes well, you get your delegate credentials. We'll see you next May down in Houston, Texas, which the Houston-Galveston area is the birthplace of the Republican Party of Texas on July the 4th of 1867. Now I'm going to answer a few of your questions before I tell you guys to have a great night. Aaron McAuliffe Brown, thank God for you. No, thank God for Texas. Thank God for the United States of America. And thank God for all of you out there, true patriots. This is the fight of our lifetime, and it's time for us to stand up. It's a scary time in our country because of our corrupt government, and that comes from D. Bliss. Yes, there is corruption in the government, not just in Washington, D.C., but also we're facing that right here in the state of Texas. And I came out and made a statement about the sitting House Speaker, Dennis Bonnen. If we're going to move forward, we need to have people of the highest degree of honor, integrity, and character. And so when I think about Speaker Bonnen and also the Republican Caucus Chairman Burrows, they need to step aside. They need to allow us to be able to do what is right to keep the Texas State House. Because Hillary Clinton was not too long ago down in Houston, Harris County, speaking to the Harris County Democratic Party, talking about flipping the Texas State House. That should be offensive to any of us here in the great state of Texas. Jason Lindler, Molon Labe, absolutely right. Molon Labe was what Leonidas said when the Persians asked him to lay down his weapons at the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC. And the Greek translation, the English translation of that Molon Labe, is exactly the words that were spoken October of 1835 at Gonzales. Come and take it. All right, next, Don Nelson Schwam, will do, westfortexas.com. We appreciate it. That's WEST, the number 4, Texas, TEXAS.com. Please go to the website, sign up, join us, look and see how you can volunteer. Go out there and seek to be a delegate, and we appreciate your financial contributions as well so that we can make sure that we get our message out all across this incredible, great state that we call Texas. Janice Everhart, great news, Colonel West. Thank you for your support, Janice. Debbie Idle Carwell, miss you in Florida. Well, you know, when those Republicans redistricted me out of Florida, they kind of sent me a message. And let me tell you something. And being the chairman for the Republican Party of Texas, I want to make sure that that never happens to anyone that has a strong conservative voice in the state of Texas, that people would use their political leverage and their power to destroy them, much the same as the state Senate, Speaker of the House, and the governor of Florida, all supermajorities of Republicans, drew a redistricting plan that redistricted out the second Black Republican that had ever served in Congress from the state of Texas. The first one was a guy by the name of Josiah T. Walls. And if you ever come to our house here, you can see a portrait of those first Black members of the House and Senate. And guess what? They were Republicans. Danny Hollingsworth, I lived in Texas. You have my vote. Thank you very much, Danny. Please come out and become a delegate, and that's where we will be voting on the chairman's race next May down in Houston. So again, go to the tab that we have on westfortexas.com that tells you the road to the convention, how you can become a delegate and support our efforts and our endeavor. More on this process. There you go. You must run for president after Trump's next term is over. America needs you. Well, Maria, is Irizarry, let's just win this thing and make sure that we keep Texas in the red column. Because right now, when you look at what is happening in the major urban centers, we got to push back this tide. And really, folks, think about it. This represents the playbook, the formula for the progressive socialists, especially when you understand that that's their greatest export coming out of California. It's not avocados, wine, or walnuts. It's progressive socialism. It has overrun Nevada. It has overrun Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and now they're knocking on the door here. It went north and it overran Oregon and Washington, because I want you to look at the county breakdown maps from 2018 and definitely 2016. And you will see a lot of red in these states, but you will see particular spots of blue. And those particular spots of blue are centered on the major population centers. They've done it in Virginia by flipping Fairfax County, which is right there across the Potomac. And they're seeking to do it in Georgia. They're seeking to do it in Florida. They're seeking to do it in North Carolina. Texas has 38 electoral votes. That's critical. We lose 38 electoral votes next November, Katie bar the door. National level elections will be over. And furthermore, Texas will probably pick up 2, maybe 3 additional congressional seats because you have the redistricting coming up based upon the census. Now you understand why the left does not want to have a citizenship question on the census, because they are flooding the zone, if you want to call it that, but they're flooding our states with illegal immigrants that they want to be counted. And if that be the case, then they will pick up more congressional representation. This is about the future of our constitutional republic. I know a lot of people said, Colonel, we want you back up in Washington, D.C. The ideological fight for America is right here in the Lone Star State. All right, a few more questions. Ruth Takeda, we do need you to run for president following Trump's win in 2020. Okay, Ruth, I got it. Everybody, I got it. But look, stay focused. I think what the teachers say, time on task. We've got to make sure that we hold this state. This is critical. This is a linchpin. And if you have been reading some of the articles, it's amazing since the announcement that we put out there about exploring this opportunity on July the 3rd, there have been countless articles that have been written about flipping Texas. As a matter of fact, I just saw one recently today on Politico, and we have posted those articles at west4texas.com. So you need to read those articles because, the 4 congressmen that are leaving, Kenny Marchant up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Pete Olson down in the Sugar Land area right outside Houston, Texas, Mike Conaway, Midland, Odessa, and Will Hurd, San Antonio down to the border. They're calling that a Texodus. Yeah. The Democrat Party is mocking us, and the Democrat Party is already talking about setting up major headquarters here in Texas. Our ground game has to be strong. And the key thing about our ground game being strong is that we have to inspire people to want to be on our team. We have to inspire people to want to stand up on that rampart of this modern day Alamo that we have right here. And I think that you're ready for this fight. And I think that we can send an incredible message to the progressive socialist left next November that comes right out of here in Texas. And then after we do it in Texas, we will replicate that success in Colorado, in New Mexico, in Arizona, and Nevada. And we'll push them back into California. And they can do whatever they want out there. But it's not going to be here. All right. Arviso Mark, thank you very much for your blessings. Please keep me in prayer. Chris King, thanks so much. Lisa Wacker Clausen, going to try to be a delegate and get you elected. Texas needs you. Texas needs each and every one of you. And thank you, Lisa, so very much for all of your support and what you've been doing to help us get this thing going. Ryan Miller, time to get knees in the breeze again. Got to shoot for you, strike hole. Remember, every one of us can get a static line snap hook. Every one of us can hook up. Every one of us can do the Texas green light. When that green light comes on, we got to jump into battle and be ready to fight. And that's what I want you all to do. If you can find a way to go out and find you a static line snap hook, I think all great patriots, all great constitutional conservatives, all of you that understand this fight, go out and get a static line snap hook and hook up on that anchor line cable and jump out on that green light to fight for this Lone Star State. Angela Cole, sir, I don't live in Texas, but I'd be the first in line at the voters booth. Well, you know what? You can come down. You can still cheer. We'd love to have you here in Texas and down in Houston next May. But thanks so much for your support. And I'm sure you got friends that live here in Texas. You can encourage them to be delegates. Patty Castillo, prayers for you and all you do and will do for Texas. Prayers for us all. And I think that's the most important thing. There's a reason why we sing God Bless America, God Bless Texas. We don't sing government bless America nor Texas. And what we have to do is we have to get back into that right and proper relationship between the individual, their liberties, their freedoms, their pursuit of happiness, and the institution of government, because I think it's upside down. Calvin Gomez, 220. I'm here for you, sir. Still rain. Calvin Gomez and I served together in 2nd Battalion, 20th Field Artillery Regiment, 4th Infantry Division down at Fort Hood. That was my last major duty assignment. And that was the first time I had the true honor and pleasure of getting a Texas driver's license back in 2002 to 2004 when I was here as a battalion commander. Dan Maynard, all of Texas is now our Alamo. Dan, you're absolutely right. And as that letter from William Barrett Travis on February 24th of 1836 says, you know, no matter what, there will be no surrender. There will be no retreat. And he understood his honor and his duty as a soldier. And he said, victory or death. We got to hold Texas. We got to hold this nation. And it's victory or death, baby. That's what it's all about. And I'm telling you, this is an opportunity like no other opportunity. So many people say that, you know, this election is the most important election. This election is the most important election. This truly is the most important election for the course that the United States of America will take. There cannot be two different, divergent ideologies and philosophies of governance that is out there between constitutional conservatism and progressive socialism. And I think that we all know what we want to choose. We want to choose to be able to set our own course in life. We want to have equality of opportunity, not someone else with their definition of equality of outcomes. We want to be able to pass on something better to our subsequent generation that was left than what was left for us. That's what we're fighting for. All right, a couple more comments. Renee Handren, I do not live in Texas, but what can I do to help? Renee, if you know some folks here in Texas, encourage them to come out and be delegates, and you can continue to give your support, and you can volunteer from as far away as you want. You know, so goes Texas, so goes the United States of America, so goes this nation. That's why I want to hook up with all of you, and I want to go out that door when that green light comes on. And like I said, it's only 2 words: follow me. Michael Howard, keep up the good fight. It is the fight to have. Terry Wall, your view on common sense gun control without giving up our rights. We have common sense gun control. It's called the individual. And what we need to do is focus on these individuals that have mental health issues. And we don't need to, look, in Florida with Nicholas Cruz at the Parkland shooting, the FBI was warned. 45 trips to Nicholas Cruz's home by the Broward County law enforcement. And even the Broward school system knew. They expelled him for violent behavior, but they did not report it because of the Obama Promise Act. So we all knew about who Nicholas Cruz was. Obviously, this young man in Dayton, Ohio was keeping a list. What we need to do with these young men that are keeping lists, and we learn about these things, then that needs to go on a record. Even here in Sutherland Springs, with the shooting that occurred in Sutherland Springs at the First Baptist Church, it was the United States Air Force that failed to put that individual into the system. And if you read BATF Form 4473, it asks you some very specific questions. And in his case, he should have, you know, when he said that, were you ever received a dishonorable discharge from the United States military? He had. Domestic abuse? He had. But the Air Force didn't upload him into the system. So let's fix the system. We don't need new laws. Just understand the laws that we have. The shooter up there in Philadelphia, how many times had he been arrested and released back out onto the streets? I guarantee you, he didn't go through any background checks. So stop focus on me and other law-abiding, legal gun-owning Americans. I have 5 or 6 semi-automatic rifles. And guess what? They're sitting in a closet right now with their magazines, not harming anybody. It's about the person. It's about their intent. Anything can be used to assault another person. I could take this static line snap hook and I could use it to assault someone. What the progressive socialist left wants to do is what they have always sought to do. They want to disarm the American populace so that then they can institute their tyranny. First thing Hugo Chavez did was ban private gun ownership. The reason why the United States of America got started was because of the gun control issue. Because the British landed, were marching inland toward Concord, Massachusetts on April the 19th, 1775 to destroy a weapons and armaments factory. Americans said no. So we're saying no today. All right, last one. Steph Boker, will you lead the South in a civil war to restore the Union? I'm going to lead every state to restore the Union. And we're already in an ideological civil war. And that's why I think it's critical that we hold Texas, we hold the nation in this coming election cycle in November 2020. Because I don't want to see the direction we can go down that path. So that's why it's critical. All right, final comment, Kathy Walls, always positive view and always about serving this great nation. You know, let me close by saying this. My dad served this country in World War II. My older brother, a Vietnam era Marine. I did 22 years of service myself. My nephew is serving currently as a major in the United States Army. We all took an oath. Support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And we took that oath freely without any purpose of evasion or mental reservation, so help me God. Just because I'm not wearing that uniform anymore does not mean that my oath to these great United States of America is ended. And as a graduate of the University of Tennessee, I'm volunteering. Just the same as General Sir Bernard Montgomery talked about paratroopers. We volunteer for the tough missions, for the hard missions. Holding Texas ain't gonna be easy because the other side wants it. But doggone it, if it's a fight that they want, they came to the right place. God bless you all. God bless Texas. And God bless these great United States of America. Thank you.